everyone. Welcome to my podcast. It's the first episode of my first podcast ever. Why am I saying first? Is it gonna be like a thing where I try to make like a new podcast every month? Like, oh, welcome to my 152nd podcast. And I have to constantly think of a new name for my podcast. Anyways, welcome to my podcast. Welcome to my podcast. Like Bo Burnham's Welcome to the Internet. That was good. Has anyone checked out Bo Burnham's Inside? Because all of the songs in there are fucking bops. Like, I fucking love those songs. I think I listen to them like every day. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. You won't regret it. It's so good, and it's a whole like one-man show. He did everything in his like room. And for someone who's been, I would say, consistently uploading content, quite consistently uploading content for the past, I would say, 2 to 3 months, it's very impressive. Like, he put in a lot of effort, and it's just really cool. I feel like anyone who's like a content creator of some sort would definitely look up to that. Like, his production, his music, his, what's that called? Stage direction, even though he doesn't really have a stage, but then I suppose that room is his stage. I don't know. It's just really good. In case anyone's wondering, my favorite song of Bo's Inside would be Shit, because that's the song I resonate the most with. Because that's the song I resonate the most with. And the lyrics go something like this, I think. I feel like shit. Something big ol' motherfucking duffel bag of shit. And that's, I just relate to it so hard. I don't know, it's just really cool. One bit. That was a big segue, but anyways, I'm gonna be dividing this podcast into 3 episodes to start off with a bang, if you would, a bang. And I don't know, I just feel like it'd be appropriate to not start off so lengthy, I guess, because I don't want it to be like really dry. I want it to be like light and casual. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record an hour's worth of podcast, and I'm gonna I'm gonna divide them. Jesus, I can't speak. I'm gonna divide them into 3 parts of like maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then you guys can check it out at your own time, and whenever you're free to listen to the podcast. Anyways, when I first came up with the idea of this podcast, let me adjust my mic there. Okay. Yeah, when I first came up with the idea of my podcast, the first thing I thought of was the name, because I feel like having a good name for a podcast is really important, because they'll, bring in new viewers and stuff like that. They'll pique the interest of potential new viewers. So I thought of like a lot of different names. I think I have like a list here, if you will. Let me look that up. Yeah, like I wanted to call this podcast with like something that I don't know, like that encapsulates what I am as a person. So I started thinking of words that I would use to describe myself and how my friends would use to describe myself. And, well, for some reason, the word I came up with was ego, because I know for a fact that I have a very big ego. I say my friends would know that on some degree that I have a really big ego. Acquaintances who know me to a certain degree or level would say I have a pretty big ego. And I'm not sure if like that's a good thing or not, but I feel like it's a pretty accurate term to describe myself. So what I came up with what the names that I came up with for this podcast, like essentially contains the word ego. So I have names like bad for my ego, good for the ego, navigating the ego. And then at some point, I was worried because I was like, oh, ego, what if people think like this is like a psychology podcast? Because, you have like the Freud theory of like the id, the ego, and the super ego. And that's, I don't want to sort of distract the listeners or the viewers or mislead them. So I thought, okay, what about other words that I would like to, to include as my podcast name. So I thought, okay, I kind of like pastel colors, because if you watched like my first 2 to 3 videos on YouTube, I make videos like on I would say a pretty consistent basis, like I mentioned. Yeah, anyways, I was like, pastel. I like pastel, so maybe, I don't know, I should name my podcast Pastel Obsessed. But then it sounds sort of not me, because pastel, as a term or as an aesthetic is it's very mild. It's very subtle. And I am by no means a subtle person, so I was like, I don't know. But let me try combining it with a previous name that I thought of for my podcast, navigating the ego. So I was like, oh, what about navigating the pastel? And then it starts to make no sense, because how the fuck are you supposed to navigate the pastel? By the way, am I supposed to censor my bleeps? Because if required, I can just sort of like censor them out like this, like fuck. Oh wait, no, that failed. I meant like fuck, shit, bitch. Like that works. That will work. And I apologize if you hear any like background noises or like thumping noises, because my mic picks up everything. Maybe it's like how I set like the gain. I'm still not very familiar with like mic settings. Because being like a self-taught content creator, why do I keep saying content creator? But yeah, being a self-taught person, you tend not to have like all of the information needed to really, I would say, what's that term for it? Start? Forgetting the word start. Starting something new, starting something you're passionate about. You don't get the entire, I'd say, information or skills needed, but it's a stepping stone. It's a progress, so we can't really blame anyone for that. So anyway, continuing my the whole history behind the name of this podcast, which I haven't revealed yet. You would have known, from like the title of this podcast, whether you're listening on Spotify or RSS or YouTube, or there was a dog barking, or on YouTube, that the name of this podcast is DiJestives, with like the G in the jest replaced with a J, and a capital J, by the way, because my name is Jess. So very smart. Very punny. I say I hate puns, but like secretly I love puns, because they're so corny to the extent that I sort of like them, I think. Yeah, anyways, continuing my history of the podcast name. I was like, okay, I like pastel, and I kind of want the word ego to be in my name. What about ego obsessed? But then, again, it just sounds like another psychological podcast. So that's not optimal for this podcast and what I wanted to stand for. Now, I'm not saying that my podcast necessarily has to stand for anything, because it's a podcast. I mean, I don't have a theme set out for it. I just want to talk about everything that comes to mind, like uni, work, life, philosophy, I don't know. And anything I want to talk about, I guess. Like even news and politics, if it really comes to it. Pop culture. Oh, there you're gonna hear my nose. My nose just sort of, yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas for what I want in this podcast, to the extent that it might get a bit diluted, if it makes sense. I want to talk about shows, like Netflix shows and movies and anime, even though I don't really watch a lot of anime. I think I watched like 3 to 4 animes, and that's because my brother recommended them to me. He's a real anime nerd. Yeah, K-pop. Hello. Genshin Impact, like the game that I've been playing, because that's the whole lore behind it is just really cool. Yeah, anyway, continuing. I keep segueing. I mean, it's just like a thing. I don't know. And I'm sorry for the whole nose sniffing thing. I don't really have good breathing skills. I'm sorry. Like, imagine if you attend like a job interview. Like, what would you say is your biggest flaw? I don't know. I guess I have really bad breathing skills. Yeah. Breathing skills. That's good. But yeah, continuing. I also thought of like the name, my ego is pastel pink. But then it just sounds like what's that girl's name in Mean Girls? Regina something? Yeah, it just sounds like a podcast started by like a mean girl, Regina George? Smith? Lee? I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, I decided on like, I just wanted a podcast name with my name in it, because I'm egocentric that way. So I was like, well, what about something with the word Jess? So I started Googling for words with the syllable Jess, like DiJestives, digestibles, what else? There are a lot of words with like the J sound in it, and I just figured digestives is a good name. Because A, my name is in the name of the podcast, and secondly, you guys know that that cookie, like that really big, I don't know, malt, oat or something, that really soft but really fragranty cookie. It's called DiJestives, and I really like that cookie, so I thought, hey, that kind of works. That's it. That's gonna be my podcast name. So yeah. that's how it came to. That's the birth of DiJestives. Yes, that's it. That's really it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel like I've been rambling on about like how the name of my podcast came to, so I should move on to the topic for this episode. So I feel like for the past week, or maybe the past 10 days, past 2 weeks, I don't know, if for anyone who's not caught up with like K-pop or Chinese entertainment industry, you guys would know that there's this like mind-blowing, earth-shattering controversy that came to light not too long ago, and it involves this ex-member or previous member of this K-pop boy group who goes by the name Chris. Again, I apologize for the background noises. I try to find some spot quiet, but you know, sometimes noise insulation is a big issue. But anyways, yeah, Chris Wu, for anyone who doesn't know, he's a Chinese Canadian actor, singer, whatever. I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm not too caught up with the boy group anymore. I'm not too caught up with the member who left, not the boy group. But anyway, this girl came. This girl posted this post. This girl posted this post on social media. Basically just exposing him of really bad things he's done to girls, like, you know, allegations of him just being really shitty to girls. And I'm sure like a lot of people can sort of imagine like the allegations that could be made against a single male or a group of males, or just males in general. And yeah, for anyone who is interested, you guys could search it up, but that tea has taken up too much of my life and I don't really want to go too deep into it anymore. But the point I want to make is the whole debacle sort of it raised this sort of awareness to me about consent ages, because like a lot of people on social media, Chinese social media, like on Chinese TikTok, because I use Chinese TikTok and I don't use like the actual TikTok, because TikTok it essentially shows you the post based on region. So based on wherever you are, they're gonna show whichever post that's posted within that region. So for example, I'm in Malaysia, and they're just, you know, they're recommending me Malaysian posts, which is fine, of course, but most of them are in Malay, and my Malay it's not trash, for sure, but it's not amazing. I can have a pretty good conversation in Malay, but like sometimes, because you know, I'm not Malay after all, so when they go into like Malaysian slangs and stuff like that, I can't understand. So anyways, that's why I decided to go on Chinese TikTok instead, because I don't know, the content in there just amuses me so much more and it appeals to me, and I just sort of like it. I like the vibe-ish there. It's less like, you know, people dancing and lip syncing and more on like actual content creating. And maybe that's also how it is for like international TikTok, but that's just how I like it. Yeah, anyway, I started looking into consent ages because a lot of people on Chinese TikTok were like, oh, this boy, this artist, this male this male this male should I use male? This guy, they were like, oh, as long as this guy, you know, hasn't forced girls to, you know, do stuff, as long as these girls' consent ages are not below 14, he's not gonna get convicted. And I was like, I'm sorry, 14? What the fuck? You know, like, what the hell's going on? 14? I mean, when you think of consent ages, you'd be like, oh, maybe it's like 16, 18, 21, maybe? But like, to have it be 14, like, I actually searched it up, I actually Googled it. I had my brother Googled it. And he's like, oh, the consent ages for girls, maybe, I think it's girls, I'm not too sure about that, for girls to, consent to having intimate relations with are 14. And I was just like, what do you mean 14? And I don't really know if that's because, like, when you think of like Chinese history, for a fact that they are they were very conservative and still are conservative if you compare it to like the Western societies. So you'd think, oh, maybe, their consent ages should be higher. Maybe like 16, 18, 21 even. But then when you really fucking I don't know. Yes, thank you. Deeg. It's a new word now. I've discovered it. Deeg. Yeah, if you really dig into it, if you really dig into Chinese history and like the emperors and the whole feudal system, you know that like most of their concubines were little girls, like from like ages like 12 to 16 or something like that. And I'm not sure if that brought on, like that influenced, that particular section of like the law or legislature or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, it doesn't sit right with me because they're 14. Like their bodies aren't even fully developed yet. Not like, when I mean body, I don't mean like in a sexual way. I meant bodies as in like their brains, because like the decision-making part of their brains wouldn't be fully formed until they're like 18. Which part was it? Like the prefrontal cortex? I don't know. I'm not a science student, and I forgot most of my biology knowledge since I graduated secondary school or high school to Americans. So yeah, I was really confused on consent ages in China. That's fucked up, and that definitely should be changed. But anyways, that whole issue just sort of reminded me of this video I made 2 months ago called what was it called again? I think I forgot it. Let me just search it up really quickly. I think it was, should we continue to support celebrities / influencers, like, during the drama, amidst the drama, after the drama, and all sorts of stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, when it concerns, I think I talked about it, but when it concerns law breaking, personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable if you asked me to support someone who broke the law, like for sure. I mean, I don't know, I'm still pretty torn on that topic, because, come to think of it, Michael Jackson, MJ, he was indicted of, the whole children shit. But then, then he got acquitted. So I'm like, But then his songs are so good. Like, I listen to him and every single part of my DNA is just like bouncing. It's like, hell yeah, dance to this song, because it's so good. Like, it's king of pop. But then, when you think about it, Chris Wu, the guy that I was talking about, he's not particularly well known for anything. I mean, his fans would say he's good looking, and I admit he's not the worst looking person. He's far from being the worst looking person on earth, or even within the entertainment industry, the Chinese entertainment industry. And yeah, and I was like, maybe, I don't know, because I'm not his fan, so I didn't support him that much before all this allegation and stuff like that. But even so, I mean, if people still want to listen to his music or watch his works, definitely, I mean, it's definitely worth something. It's definitely worth something. But definitely wouldn't view him in a positive light after all this. Because, like, even if it's issues as minuscule, and I put this in quotes, within, I don't know, human history, it's still something worth observing because it definitely contributes to a particular part of the, social and historical or, any cultural discourse. Am I getting to academia here? I don't know. I just started like my first week of uni and it's going pretty okay. But yeah, that's I don't know, however the results or conclusion is like concerning his whole allegations and drama and all that shit, I guess it's pretty safe to say that his career is essentially done for. Cause if I'm not mistaken, the Chinese entertainment, I don't know, industry, or there's a particular section or organization that's in charge of like the industry, they've officially cancelled him. Like they literally said, freaking dogs. They literally said that they're gonna ban him from all sorts of media. He's not gonna appear anymore on like TVs and radios and shit like that. So yeah, rest in peace his career. Rest in peace Chris Wu's career. It's pretty sad. So that was it. That's the first episode of my podcast, DiJestives. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in part 2.